My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's Lent, right? we might need some more wine for this.
So let's get this party started, y'all. Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Wesley Johnson. Thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. You a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time. Bye.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's the theme song. I always like the song I'm Walking on Sunshine too.
Right. How do you define happiness?
Happiness is actually a state of joy. And I find that a lot of times we get so caught up trying to find happy, which is exactly what I did for several years. I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and it was a whole different life. I didn't know what happy was because I was so stuck in sadness, but I wanted happy. And so I think what happiness represents is a better way for us, both inside of ourselves and both in our outer world. Happiness is a pursuit, but it's also a realization that we can be happy no matter what's going on. And that's where the joy comes in. It's really about living a joyful life.
Oh, thank you for that. We had a little bit of sound difficulty. I hope everybody knows it's corrected now. So we're going to keep moving forward. Now, how do we find our own happy? I mean, that's probably, I think people have different definitions of what happiness is, but what does that mean? I mean, I know you and I were talking about this offline about how our search is for our own happy, but how, when you're talking to your clients about this, how do you help them find their own happy?
I think when we think of the word happy, and we're in a state of feeling overwhelmed right now, especially in the world, so many of us are feeling overwhelmed, or like we're still in this constant state of uncertainty. So looking for happiness feels like something we want, but it feels like it's outside of ourselves. And so the very first thing that I think is very important is to recognize what brings you joy. And go back to, and I often do this exercise, and in my book, Find Your Happy, I actually do that exercise. Go back to a childhood memory, if you can, where you were just expressing yourself in such feeling so alive and in just such a moment of bliss. And there's always a moment where you're doing something that you love. For me, I was literally constantly, my happy place when I was a child was sitting in nature and writing poems, literally in a book. And I would get made fun of royally at recess for sitting on the ground, watching the birds, because I love animals, and writing. And lo and behold, several years ago, or several years after that, I abandoned my dream of writing. I didn't spend time in nature. I went on the corporate track, and I was suffocating under these electric lights, and I got very depressed, and I turned to writing, and that pulled me through in part. And I started to journal. And while journaling through my depression, I started to find happy in the moments by going back to what brought me total bliss as a child. So I would encourage anyone to say, when do I feel like my best self? What am I doing? Where am I? Who am I with? And find ways to bring that into the moment.
Thank you for that. It reminds me of, again, we were kind of talking about this offline. We always have great discussions offline.
Yeah, just kind of record like secrets.
I know, and then play it for the audience. I truly believe that we create these different life experiences, just like you were talking about before with depression and that kind of thing. I mean, through our own, our childhood and that kind of thing, we're born into some of this stuff. But they're all there to help us grow, right? I mean, it's all about our best and highest good to help us grow. And you've already described some of those challenges, but I want to drill down into one specific one. Who is Tucker?
Tucker. Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah, so Tucker came to me. I was diagnosed with clinical depression in 2009. And at the time, I was also suffering from eating disorders and drug addiction, and I was in toxic relationships. And it was just a very dark time. And I was at the doctor's office after she had diagnosed me with clinical depression, waiting for her to kind of do the paperwork and stuff. And I was sitting in the office and I read a magazine that said dogs can help with depression. And I had a prescription in one hand and this magazine article in the other, and my heart jumped out of my chest. And it's the first time I really honored and heard my intuition and said, just trust this, go with this route. And so I started volunteering at an animal shelter just to kind of really get that animal love fix and get out of my own way. And in volunteering, I started to feel like I can make a difference. And I adopted a dog. And at the time, his name was Tucker, and he was a golden retriever. And oh my gosh, something about that little soulmate changed everything, because I was like, now that I have this little beautiful thing in my life, I want better for me and him. And I think any parent can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, I wasn't a parent. And so I literally made a declaration, and I started to journal more. And I made a declaration that I want to be happy. And that looks like me moving back to the West Coast where I grew up, because at the time I was in Chicago working in the ad agency, and we're going to go have a great life, Tucker. So we moved back to the West Coast, and I found my love of writing. I dedicated one of my books to Tucker. So I truly feel like Tucker was a catalyst, and what Tucker really represented was this experience of knowing that you're worth it to live your life. And that's what he just showed me by being a reflection of a love bomb. Like, he was just such a love unconditional. He just loved me for who I was. And sadly, in 2018, he passed away, actually 2017, but it led to a whole rich, beautiful experience of writing a book about how do we really find joy when we've lost the thing we love the most, called Joy Seeker. That's a new book. And it led me to travel the world for a full time for almost a whole year, which, by the way, led me to go to China to help rescue dogs. And now I have another dog.
Hey!
And his name is Chance, and his middle name is Tucker, to honor Tucker.
Okay. That warms my heart. Oh
Yeah.
my God. See, that's why we always mention these things, everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
you never ever know
It's true.
what's going to be the catalyst for change. You know, again, we were talking offline about this, but they're all growth opportunities, right? I mean, and the fact that you stepped out and you brought this soul into your life, and maybe you're thinking, well, I'm going to help this dog out.
Totally.
But the dog is actually helping you out.
Oh, isn't it amazing how that works? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, I think what's really special about this too is I feel that we're always getting signs from the universe. And even in my darkest time, the universe put that magazine article in front of me for me to find it and then have that inspiration. So whether we think it's signs from the universe or really just coming back to knowing that we're always being guided, our natural state is one of feeling of more peace, more joy, more happiness. And so when we're out of that, there are always things coming into our experience to help us. It's up to us to kind of listen, because so many people would have just read that article. And I know at one point in my life, I would have been like, whatever, I got the fix here in this hand. But to me, there was my heart set. I really looked at learning how to trust my inner guide, because my whole body lit up when I read that article, and I didn't know why. Like, this could be a way. And then when I saw the dog that I was going to adopt, I was like, oh yes, whole body light up. So look for those whole body light up moments,
I love that. Whole body light up moments. I'm definitely going to come back to this and write that down, because again, and we're describing this. We're going to go through this process, everybody, in terms of like moment by moment by moment. So first step is to become more aware, right, about what's going on with you. You create a catalyst for change, or notice the catalyst for change. And for you, one of these amongst a lot was Tucker.
Yeah.
And
Well,
And
also, going back to your childhood,
yeah,
and I
oh
think that's important
yes.
because when I was a child, I would literally sit in the field with my dog, who was my best friend at like age, 8, and write poetry. So writing, nature, and animals. I had strayed from that, and so I think that's a key part. So you go back, and then that leads to the catalyst in your
Yes.
adult life, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like I look at it as the same as being grateful, right?
Yes. Yes.
You start where you've already completed, and part of that is what are those things in your life that already bring you joy, and you go
Mhm.
back to those moments. Um,
You know, it's
speaking, yeah,
interesting
go
as
ahead.
you talk about being grateful, and that was a huge step for me too in my
Mm,
depression journey of overcoming it, because for so many months and years I was in this overwhelming space where even when I was walking to work, I would like try to hold the tears back because I was like, "Oh, it's so hard to go into that job." But when I focused on gratitude around the time that I got my dog, I said, I'm so thankful that I have this job. It's going to pay my cell phone bill today, or whatever it was. And I started to look at it like I get to practice being more kind to the people that maybe I don't get along with at work. And I
mm,
started to use gratitude. I truly feel that gratitude must be a part of the mix to finding our happy.
ah,
It really is the foundation
yeah.
for our life force. So I'm glad you brought that up. Mhm.
Um, you were talking earlier about, when Tucker made his transition
Mhm.
and you were going through this additional transformational growth opportunity. I'm gonna keep repeating that, everybody. Growth opportunity, not failures, none of that negative stuff. All about your best and highest good. You said you traveled for a year. Where did you start? Did you have a plan, like where you wanted to start doing this, or did you just say, "I'm gonna go to Sri Lanka, and whatever I decide after
So
that, what
that
the
is such
heck?"
a I love it. No one's asked me that question. It's beautiful because I got to tell you, when Tucker died, I went into a new depression, and this was about 8 years after. And I had been writing, like living this message. I had 4 books out at the time: How to Be Happy, How to Follow Your Heart. And I fell into a depression that was unlike anything else, but it was a grief depression.
Mm,
And in that grief, I realized that I had, up until Tucker had passed, I was still relying on happiness outside of me. Even Tucker, he was my happiness. He pulled me out of depression. With him in my life, I was fine. And when that spirit was gone, I was like, who am I without that thing you love most? And that led
oh,
to a whole journey that led to
wow.
me asking. And I read a quote. I was doing research at that time to try to just help with my grief. And I read a study that maybe you've heard of. It was done in the UK, and the top regrets of the dying.
Hmm.
And the number one regret is, I wish I would have lived a life true to myself instead of those that others expected of me.
Oh,
And
wow.
secondly, I wish I would have allowed myself to be happier. And so many of us are going so far into our life not living for what we really want. And I asked myself, well, what have I always wanted to do, but I have not given myself permission to do? And I
Okay.
think if we all ask ourselves that, it ignites something in us about, like you keep saying, living your best and almost awesome life. Well, there's part of us that might be afraid of that. And to me, I said, travel the world for a full year. And I was like, what? That's so, and I'm like, well, wait a second. Why am I not doing that? I'm an author. I can
Yeah.
work from anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
okay. And so I set out my path, and I had the itinerary down to the day. And I didn't book all the hotels. I was about 2 months out. I stayed in Airbnbs and apartments for most of the time. I know we talked about loving to do that. And about, so my very first place that I went, I had, and it wasn't the plan. The first place was supposed to be Central America and then hop over to Europe. But I found the most amazing, excuse me, ticket to Cuba. It
Oh,
was
wow.
the cheapest
Oh,
ticket
wow.
ever. I was like, well, how could I not go? But then after I realized the reason why, because at the time the Trump administration announced something, so there was all these like whatever it was, it was, I didn't do enough research. But long story short, I ended up in Cuba, and it was such a miraculous way because I threw myself so out of my comfort zone to be there as a female solo woman traveler. But I got to tell you, that country, I felt safer. I've been to over 54 countries now, and I've never felt as safe and loved and welcomed in any other country. And so there's something very special there. And it's probably because they haven't seen a lot of Americans, because it's a lot harder to get there. And so what's really special is I must say that I had my itinerary down and I'm like, hey, friends, come visit me in Paris or Switzerland. Here's where I'll be there. Like 6 weeks in, not even 4 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. I have to be more free. So I allowed myself to just live 1 to 2 weeks at a time, and decide. And that worked much better because I was able, you be in a country and you're like, I really want to go over here instead. And that was a really great opportunity to learn how to live life more fully in the moment, which is something I needed to do. I needed to learn surrender and trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
You remind me of a friend of mine who he was in graduate school. We were all in college, and he was studying for his master's degree in performance. He was a saxophone player. Hey, Steve, you may be watching someday. He decided after he graduated, he's gonna, hey, I'm gonna spend like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm just gonna go to Europe, and I'm just gonna hang out. He was gone for 6 months.
Just keep.
And it was because of that kind of experience where you're able just to flow and be. And then he met some other amazing people, and they were like, hey, why don't you we're going to this Grecian island. Why don't you come hang out with us? Don't worry about it. We got a boat. Just come. And he made his track all the way to Istanbul. And he says it changed his life.
Absolutely.
And so I'm hearing that from you. Though, I mean, Cuba was an important part. Was there another experience that you had that you can remember? I mean, I'm sure there's many, but was there another experience you can think of that you'd like to share that was like maybe a breakthrough for you as well, that was on this 365-day trip of joy?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be 365 days, but as I was traveling, I came back to America after 6 months, and then I went back for another 3 months to Southeast Asia. So it wasn't quite a full year, but what's really interesting is as you're traveling, I find we learn a lot about ourselves, and it sounds great to travel the world, but something I didn't anticipate was the exhaustion emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because I was a woman solo female traveler. And once I changed my itinerary to like every 2 weeks being somewhere, it was so exhausting to get to a new country and have to learn a whole new language, a new system, a new monetary system. And I didn't account for that. So after a really hard stint coming from Central America, going over to like the ocean and island and back, long story short, I found myself sleeping on the floor at the Mexico City airport because of a delayed flight that you don't expect, and which is like, like on the floor, right? Cement floor.
Right.
So by the time I finally got to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, I gave my apartment address to the taxi driver, and I only speak poquito español, like very small, enough to like say hi and thanks for the nachos. And it was interesting because he dropped me off in the wrong spot and sped away, and I could kind of tell that he knew I wasn't in the right spot, but it was a whole different, it wasn't even the neighborhood.
Wow.
And I was knocking on the door. My Wi-Fi did not work because of the long layovers. And it was just such an experience. I was sweaty. I was hot. I was so hungry, right? And so I just sat down on the curb and I cried. Aww. And this was only about, I'd say 2.5 months into my whole 1 year journey. And I cried and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not what I signed up for. This is not how I thought my journey was going to go.
Right.
And then this woman came out of her little house, her casa, beautiful experience. And she said, are you okay? But she kind of said it in Spanish, but I kind of understood. She lifted me up, brought me into her home, gave me a towel to dry off, gave me some water. And then through the kind of exchange of sign language, I showed her on the map where I was trying to go. And she said, oh, her daughter spoke a little English and said, we're not, and that's about 20 minutes away. She got me in her car and drove me over to the right place. I tried to give her money. She said, no.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I realized this is what my experience is really about. It's about the people and the connection. And it's great to see these beautiful, the Mayan ruins or
Right.
bucket list stuff, but
Right,
that's
right.
not what this is about. We are here on earth to connect, to be with people. And no matter what culture you're from, all barriers broke down there. And I went deeper into my experience. So that changed my life, because here's a woman who didn't even know me. She could have stayed in her home, right? But she came out and helped me. And not that, she went out of her way and needed nothing back. So that was an extraordinary experience for me. And it gave me the
go ahead.
inspiration to keep going. And I will say, just on the other end of that, the very next day I was on a hike and I had the most breathtaking view of the city. And it was that peak one night and that high and the low that I saw that that's what life is. When we're in the deepest dark of our despair, like I can't keep going, just hold on, because just 12 hours later, you may be experiencing and witnessing the most miraculous thing ever.
Wow.
That's part of life, right?
Wow. And again, I mean, I'm listening to this story and I can't help but make the connection to everything that we just talked about, right? You could have drifted into complete despair in the Mexico airport, sleeping on the floor, or you could have been in despair once you got to a place and it's raining or whatever, and you're in the wrong spot, and completely write off any chance of you having any type of joy in that experience. And through your own faith, right, that you really believe in this, the miracle happens.
Yes.
Right? You attract it, because you attracted that to you.
Yeah.
And it completely transformed all of the stuff that happened previously. Not that it wasn't challenging, not that it wasn't an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. You make it through, though.
But you make it through.
You make it through. And she was my earth angel. And I realized I had to ask for help, because right before that, I prayed on the ground. I said, I can't do this. I need help. I literally said that. And then boom, she came out of her house.
Oh, man. I mean, that's everybody. This is not like, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
This is real. This it just happened. Because what are the chances? Let me just break it down to you this way, and I'm sure, Shannon, you're going to agree with me on this. What are the chances that you would pick that taxi that would drop you off at that spot where that woman was at that house? There aren't any coincidences. That's where you were meant to be. You were placed there, and that it was your choice whether or not, am I going to find happy in this? Am I going to find joy in this? Am I going to be grateful for everything that came before this that created this amazing experience? Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Man, we got so much more to talk about. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I want to ask you about mantras and the importance of mantras in our lives, and how that is of great assistance to finding your happy. So you're going to be ready for that when we come back?
I look forward to that. Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So everybody, we're going to take just a brief pause for the cause, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with more with Shannon Kaiser and Soulivity Live. Soulivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing is pleased to announce its latest charitable partner, the National Women's History Museum. Please join us in supporting this amazing organization.
Don't tell me I can't sit where I want.
Don't tell me I can't be an inventor.
Don't tell me I can't be a soldier.
Don't tell me I can't be a movie star. I am Anna Mae Wong.
I am Rosa Parks. I refuse to give up my bus seat to a white person.
I am Tabitha Babbitt. I invented the circular saw.
Don't tell me I can't fly.
Don't tell me I can't be an explorer. I am Sacagawea.
Don't tell me I can't be a scientist. I'm Gertie Teresa Corey. I won a Nobel Prize in Physiology.
I am Deborah Sampson.
Don't tell me I can't open my own business. I'm Estee Lauder. I started a global empire that now has $7 billion in annual sales.
I disguised myself as a man to fight in the Revolutionary War.
Don't tell me I can't be a spy.
Don't tell me I can't be a journalist.
I am Mary Elizabeth Bowser.
I'm Amelia Earhart.
I starred in over 40 films from the silent era to the talkies.
I am Jovita Idar. I was an editor, a publisher, and I even founded my own newspaper.
During the Civil War, I was a maid for the Confederate president. He thought I was illiterate, but I actually had a photographic memory.
I was shot twice in my first battle and removed the bullets myself.
These are just some of the women who have changed history. Don't let them be forgotten.
Become a member and support the
National Women's
History Museum. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Please join us in supporting the National History Women's Museum. You can find out more information by going to soulivity.com/support women's history.
And we are back with more from Shannon Kaiser. I wish you guys could hear our offline conversations. They're so good. Maybe we'll just do a raw show one day where everybody can just hear what we're talking about. Because we were talking about Paris, and Paris is both one of our favorite places in the world to go. And that, when you're traveling, explore the people and culture. Yes, do some of the touristy stuff, but get out and explore. But I really want to talk to you about mantras, and a very important aspect to our own growth and that kind of thing. What is a mantra?
So a mantra is actually a retraining of the brain, and it's helping us recalibrate and refocus on the positive instead of the negative. So our mind, you can also call them affirmations, but our mind often goes to our ego. Our fear-based protection place of us lives up in our mind, and your ego is a fear-based going to try to protect you. So ego looks like the voice that often says, maybe you shouldn't do that, maybe I'm not good enough. And, it's trying to do what it can to bless, protect you. But the truth is your heart is where the guidance and the true happiness can come from. So mantras, I feel, are retraining your brain to align with your heart, dropping from your head to your heart. We were talking earlier about the steps, so to speak, of how to get unstuck, how to find your happy. And the next step is to find a tool or a divination that works for you. Mantras literally saved my life. And that is why I wrote the book, Find Your Happy Daily Mantras. And I have the card deck, Find Your Happy Daily Mantras card deck, because I started, yes, there it is. Yes. And in the book, right, I started to write so instead of sitting in a place, so when I very first left corporate and I started to realize that I can feel happier, what do I love to do? I want to write. So I want to be an author. That's my new career. How do you go from being an art director and a graphic designer to a writer? So overwhelming. So to get from where you are to where you want to be, a mantra can help bridge that gap. And one of the beliefs that I had, you look at the beliefs you have, was I can't make a living doing what you love. Writers don't make money. And you ask yourself, are these beliefs become our common focus, right? If you feel that we're living in a world that's very harsh, that's your belief system. So I transformed that into a powerful mantra affirmation statement. So instead of I can't make a living doing what I love, I make a fabulous living doing what I love. And that became my new guiding mantra. I put it on sticky notes, and lo and behold, I'm living a life. Here we are a decade later. That is so beautiful. And I make a fabulous living doing what I love. I do not feel like I work a day in my life. So mantras are ways to recalibrate. And I that's why I wrote the book. It is such a joy to be able to do them and use them daily still.
Wow. You answered the question I was going to ask you after that, was what is their purpose?
Yes.
And I'm so glad you did that. And it was beautiful. I love the fact that you're saying we're reprogramming our brain, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, I mean, those of you who've watched this show over the years, we talk about creating a new normal, right? We've talked about this before, where you're born into a certain situation with certain parents and a certain environment, and that creates your first normal, right? And it's based upon, hey, your parents did the best that they could do. You had a certain environment around you, and some of it's negative, some of it's positive. It depends upon all that. You don't have to stay in that place. You don't have to even erase it. All you have to do is create another path, which is what we're talking about here in terms of reprogramming your brain, that you're giving yourself a different choice.
Yeah.
And the choice is, I choose to be happy or joyful in whatever that's going to be. I want to read something out of the introduction to your mantra deck, which is, and I love these. Oh my gosh.
And they're so fun to just pull any, just like pull one and yeah.
In fact, we may do that today. And I'll have you kind of give me a reading on that one.
Oh, I'd love to.
Several years ago, and you talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is like a little bit deeper. Several years ago, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. At the time, I was also suffering from eating disorders and addicted to drugs. I hit rock bottom, and my full surrender was the key to transformation. I turned my pain into purpose by developing a daily mantra practice. The healing mantras became my life force and guide forward. They help pull me into happiness, peace, and serenity. My hope is that through this deck, I can help others attain their own versions of happiness, peace, and serenity. My question, and I'm kind of foreshadowing this. This practice was more than just, oh, well, I'm just going to say some stuff every day, and hopefully it'll change.
Right.
This was a powerful way for you to move into the center of your soul to find the joy, the happiness, and the peace that was already there. Is that right?
I think absolutely. Yeah, that's really the power and the best way to describe the mantras have the power to recalibrate, realign us to what is true, because we live in a world that is constantly going to try to take our attention. There's so many distractions, and part of my depression was because I was believing the world instead of my own inner light.
Yeah.
And when I tapped into that space, the mantras helped remove all that clutter and helped me come back to me. And that's why I love them. And that is such a great way that you said that, because that's really the truth of them. So it's not about like a fluffy, cool thing you can post on social media, like, oh, it's a cool mantra and a meme. It really is. There's a lot of psychology and there's a lot of science involved and a lot of spirituality that connects together. It's a beautiful practice. And I every morning I have a mantra, and I use mantras in my coaching practice. And every one of my books, I have 6 books. I'm working on my 6th book now. Every one of them closes a chapter with a mantra because I believe in them that much.
Yes. I'm, and these are all these connective things, right? I mean, we have mantras that we say every day. Meditations are part of this. Vision boards or treasure maps, I mean, however you want to put it, is another powerful way to harness this energy. And this is not, again, people, I know I sound like a broken record, but there's a reason why I do that, because I really want you to feel this, because it's all about passion and purpose here, right? That leads you to your best life, to high quality living. You got to live from within you.
Yeah.
Tell me, I asked this question of different people. What's your definition of the soul?
I think that's a beautiful question. I understand that our soul is our essence. I mean, we've heard it before from lots of spiritual teachers. We're spiritual beings having a human experience instead of humans having a spiritual experience. And I think our soul is evermore and always going to continue on. And it's our essence. I think if you're just boiling it down. So I truly believe that. And people like, essence, what do you mean? It's who we really are. It's our soul, though, is always learning and growing. And I think that's one of the main reasons we come to Earth, because we're here in a school that is called Planet Earth. Dr. Peebles and Summer Bacon, they do that teaching. There's a book called The School called Planet Earth. I feel, as you've said many times throughout offline and on our call, It's about the lessons, and our soul is always growing. And that's a beautiful thing, because it's like we're in these life classes. And I was in a class of learning about depression so I could truly know what happiness is and lead to a career about teaching and helping others be happy. So whatever we are going through, it's part of our soul's journey.
Right, right. And again, I'm foreshadowing this. Do we find our passion and purpose by connecting with our soul?
Well, what's really special is I've come to a lot of the work I do is about finding your purpose and passion. And in the very beginning, it was, I'm going to be a writer. That's my purpose. But through and doing this in almost a decade now and working on my next book, I've come to realize that our purpose is personal expansion. And that is directly tied to your soul expanding into new awarenesses and new growth and new opportunities.
Ooh,
You can't separate them. They're together,
I love that. Expansion.
Yes.
You hear that? It's about expansion, baby.
Yes.
I mean.
And here's the thing, it's not selfish at all. And I find that a lot of us, when we hear like expanding myself or personal growth journey, just think you love to learn. When you start to connect into that deeper part of yourself, you uplift yourself, which is in turn helping everyone around you and helping the whole planet. We're raising into a higher vibration. So to me, finding your purpose and passion is about discovering your inner world and expanding it.
Wow. Oh, this is such a great conversation.
I heard you shuffle the cards.
I know. I like.
Yes, do. Oh, yes.
All right. So I'm so excited. I was going to take a commercial break, but we're not going to do it, people. We're going to go right into the reading. How about that? All right.
Yes.
Let me hear from you guys out there, by the way. Tell us your thoughts about our show, about this show. We love hearing from you. You don't have to ask a question if you don't have one. But if you want to share an experience or something like that that's related to this, that would be wonderful too. So I've been putting energy into them. I've been following the directions.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
I've been putting energy, because everybody, before you use the cards, you get into center into a space.
And I like knocking on them myself, but there's a lot. Yep.
You put energy into the cards so that they're aligned with you. And I'm going to do a couple of another quick little cuts. Little cuts here, because I want to make sure.
Are you gonna,
where's our Jeopardy music? We need some Jeopardy music on here.
Exactly.
All right.
Are you gonna do a card for you or for everyone watching?
Well, let's do one for every. Well, we do two. Why don't we do one for me, and then we'll do one for everybody watching.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
All right,
and then I have the book, and I can show you how the book works as well.
Okay, cool. So I did the cut, and this is the one. All right, everybody. You ready for this one? All right, here we go.
I deserve
better.
Yes, there you go.
Wow.
And so when this card comes in, there's a card booklet that comes with it. You need to read the whole thing. But this card is all about where in your life are you settling? Where are you making choices out of fear that it won't work out? Or where in your past are you holding on to because you're afraid that you won't be able to get better?
Wow.
To this point, not just for you personally, but I find a lot of us, and I talk about this in my books too, we settle because we think it's the best we can get. Why would we dream bigger if we're going to be disappointed? And it's something a human psychology we do because we're so used to only playing at this level, but we are capable of so much more. So I often encourage a lot of my clients and readers to dream even bigger, give yourself permission to go bigger. And what is it? If you had a magic wand, or if you could just paint your ideal life, don't worry about time, money, or energy. And you do deserve it.
In addition to your mantras, I want to make sure I touch on this too while we're here. You have a website.
Yes.
And what's the name of the website?
playwiththeworld.com. Mm-hmm.
And you can go there and you can learn about what your passion is. Yeah. And I did it this morning.
Yeah. What was your result?
And I'll give the one mantra that is totally connected to this.
And I use a mantra in the quiz too. Yeah.
And I'll paraphrase it. it's for me to be my complete me. So for you to allow yourself to freely express who you are. And I'm the creative
Conscious creator.
conscious creator.
Yes. When we started talking before the show, I had an insight that you might be that too. And I love, because we're talking about creating and living our mission, and look at this beautiful show.
And again, I mean, I haven't been, since I started Soulivity, I haven't been happier. You know, I mean, it's been a grounding force in my life in everything. So
Yes.
I'm definitely going to have that and use that today because it's very purposeful in many different ways. And I will tell you this too. And Shannon, I'm so glad you're here.
Me too. Thanks.
When we pull these, when we pull these cards and you went into this explanation, I felt also some of my past starting to come up. And everybody, I mean, listen, our past is our past. We can't run from it. We don't, you know, it's always with us. It's in those little bags that, you know, we carry. It's whether or not we're carrying a little mini coin purse size past, or we're carrying big, you know,
Like
suitcases and trunks of stuff with us. And so when you were talking, I was like, maybe I need to do some more healing around that part of myself, to allow myself to also move forward with saying the daily mantras, allowing myself, you know, to take this into my meditation, into the healing practice, take this into my treasure mapping or vision boarding. I mean, all that's interconnected. So thank you for that. So,
well, you know, as you were saying that too, though, it's interesting because I deserve better. A lot of times we are living a good life and we're happy. And it's like, well, what do you mean? I'm doing well. But when we get the mantras, it's almost always a universal realignment.
right.
And so there's some place that still wants to be looked at. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is room for growth. There's always room for growth.
Always. Yeah.
All right. I'm going
so
to
this
pick.
mantra is for everyone listening.
All right. Here we go. Dun, da, 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 da.
Ooh, there are infinite resources available.
Wow.
Yeah, there are infinite resources available to me, which is so beautiful that you drew this one right now, because I have felt and seen in my client sessions, I love that right there. We are feeling limited. We are living in a time where a lot of the things we are used to are not able to be expressed, or we're not able to do the things we're just in the state of suspension. Here's the thing to remind yourself: there are infinite possibilities and resources available to you. So when you repeat that mantra, it gets you out of the stuck mode of thinking I have no control, and it brings your power back to you. So if you want to take this deeper today, you can do a little journal practice of what is coming to me, what resources are available to me.
Wow. This is great. I mean, I almost wish I could like bring people in and we could kind of, maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah,
maybe
and
we'll
I can
try to do some personal readings and that kind of thing.
I would love to do that. Let's do that. Now, the book works the same way. The book is 365 days, and I wrote this as a guide literally to help me through depression. But I'm bringing this up because you can open the book to any page and get a mantra. So just now, I opened up to a page, and it's am I failing enough? And it talks about taking more chances. And then there's a whole thing, and it's like, are you taking enough chances in life? Probably not. And then the bottom question is, how can I fail even harder? Which is, to your point, it's reframing how we look at our mistakes. So every morning, if I don't use the card deck, I will literally open the book. So that's part of the practice for me.
Wow. You know, the one thing that I remember my grandfather saying to me, he said, we never fail down. We fell up. It's always, you know, you don't keep going down. Once you mastered a certain level in life, where you are, you stay there. You cannot, you can convince yourself through your ego that you're worse off than you were before. But everything that you've gained never goes anywhere. So I love the fact that you keep saying, I want to fail harder. It means you want to expand. You want to expand.
That's the word for the day. Yeah, it's all about expansion. And so also recognize whatever we're in, it will turn around. And so to keep going.
Wow. I want to end our discussion with some more practical kinds of things. You were already kind of talking about some of this before, and maybe you want to repeat it again and maybe go through it in a little bit more detail. What are 3 ways that today, before we buy the book, because everybody, you're going to go out and buy the book or I'm coming after you, or the mantra cards, because you need this stuff. Mantras. What are 3 ways we can begin today, this journey, this powerful journey today?
Very first thing I would say is to detach from drama. And this looks like drama in your own personal life, but also how we can look at drama is when you are participating in something, whether it's watching the news, whether it's a conversation, whether it is an activity at your own home. How do you feel after? Are you feeling constricted, tight, frustrated, mad, angry? Or are you feeling expanded, joyful, connected? Align with as many connected things as you can. It's beautiful. It's a Saturday. Take your Saturday to detach and unplug literally from the chaos of the world. That will really help. And then we go back to gratitude. Be so in the moment of focusing on what you appreciate. I like to make a gratitude list where I list them out. Now my gratitude list is constantly a stream as I'm walking my dog. I'm so thankful for the beautiful spring flowers. I'm so thankful that I get to have a Saturday to play. I'm so thankful to be here with you, constantly in that mode of gratitude. And then the third and final one is to actually give yourself, it's today, what I think would be great for everyone is to spend a little bit more time in nature, even if grounding is very healing. Going out into nature, to put your feet on the ground in your backyard if you can, or just nature. The shamans and the ancient Indians and the wisdom and the ascended masters and everyone, they were such a profound connection to earth. And I feel we've lost a lot of that. What helped me through my depression was getting back to nature and respecting that. But aside from nature as well, also being moment by moment present. So instead of looking to the future, what am I going to do next? Just practice being in the moment. And you can do that by, when you're washing your hands, smell the actual soap, have a conversation with someone and be present instead of thinking about what you're going to say next. Just be there with them. So those are 3 very tactical steps we can do today. Another thing is just have fun today. Just give yourself permission to just be. Today, I'm just going to do something that actually might feel a lot of fun, not with an agenda, not what is it going to turn into, but, give yourself permission to do what you wanted to do when you were a child.
Wow. I just thought of something. This will be the first challenge ever on Soulivity Live for the audience.
Yes.
I want everybody you're going to go to the mirror. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror for at least 60 seconds, and you're going to just do this. Just smile. Just smile at yourself. Just do it for 60 seconds. I guarantee you're going to laugh. By the end of that 60 seconds, you're going to be laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Finding your joy. Oh, man. Oh, the time is going back too fast.
It's like such a joyful experience to be here.
I know. Will you come back?
I would love to. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We got to do this again.
Yeah.
We got to do this again. Everyone, Find Your Happy Daily Mantra deck is available at Beyond Words or wherever books are sold, as well as the Find Your Happy books and all the other phenomenal books from Shannon Kaiser. Now, you have another book that you're going to be coming out soon, right, that you're working on right now?
Yeah, in fact, I have another deck coming out this November called Unshakable Inner Peace.
Ooh!
About that, and then a whole new book that is tied to the 12 steps to unshakable inner peace, which comes out next year.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to those because we all want a little more peace, because that's what happens. You find you're happy and then you want peace.
Well, we talked about what my grandfather says, but I'll tell you what my grandmother said. I love all this carrying on. This is good carrying on right here.
Thanks, Grandma.
I know, like, woohoo! Thank you so much for being here.
It's been such a joy. I'm so happy we got to connect today. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And we're going to have you back very, very soon. So everybody watch this space. Before we get out of here, just a couple of housekeeping things that I want to kind of tell you guys about. Coming up in April, we have our next Truth in Power event brought to you by Soulivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing. We're going to be celebrating Earth Day. So save the date now by visiting our YouTube channel. And you can just like set a reminder. You're going to be getting more information about our panelists that are going to be there. And so you definitely want to check that out. Also, remember to go follow us on social media. You can learn about upcoming shows and events just like our Truth and Power series. And some of our coming up are amazing giveaways. They're going to be starting up soon. Also, please check out our new Go Shop, which features vendors from across the globe selling inspirational products for your soul. From books to beauty items, we have something for you to like ignite that passion and purpose within you. So with all that, I want to once again thank our guest Shannon Kaiser for being on our show today. Remember, you can find her books and her cards by visiting the Beyond Words Publishing website at beyondword.com, as well as wherever books are sold. And on behalf of everybody here at Soulivity, I want to wish you a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. I'll see you next time. Bye. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's Lent, right? Yeah. we might need some more wine for this.
So let's get this party started, y'all. Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Westley Johnson, thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. You a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time. Bye.